never mind. I'm just playing a little bit of Last Epoch at the moment. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Path of Exile killer. What do you think?
I completely agree with the sentiment.
Yeah, I thought so as well. Do you think there's any chance of Path of Exile coming back from this?
No.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll catch you around.
Okay.
Welcome. It's your friendly neighborhood Badger here, and I'm back with some Last Epoch content. If you've been watching on Twitch, you would have seen me trying out the new Sands of Majasa update, which just came out a couple of days ago, and I would implore you, if you own Last Epoch, jump back into it. It's an awesome update. I'm going to do another video on my first thoughts about the update and everything, but it's massive. A whole new act, a ton of new unique items, a massive change to balance, a bunch of new skills and updated skills, and visual effects and everything like that. There's so much to jump into, and target farming of uniques as well, which is very, very exciting. But this character is what this video is all about, the character that I'm playing today, and mainly focusing on one of the new skills coming out, which is a Sentinel skill, and I'm spec'd into Paladin, and that skill is Javelin. Now, Javelin, as a base skill, it just basically throws a Javelin, but as we all know in Last Epoch, or if you don't, I'll also release videos on kind of like basics of Last Epoch at some point, but in Last Epoch, every single skill has its own skill tree, which kind of looks something like this, and you can kind of specialize in 5 different abilities at once. So I'll talk about exactly what we're doing here, because I'm no longer throwing a Javelin in a straight line. There are things that you can do by going over here into Divine Fury. You can turn your Javelin into lightning and make it chain instead of pierce, which is really cool. You can do things like this over here, Battle Standard, which is basically putting a giant flag in the ground. If you're a Path of Exile Andy, it's basically like putting a War Banner or Dread Banner, some sort of banner on the ground to give you a bit of a buff and everything like that. But I've decided to go into Spiked Bombardment. Now this is basically Rain of Arrows, but Javelins, and I'll quickly demonstrate what that looks like right here. Pretty cool. And you can imagine the boss DPS is very good with this, but you can probably see as well, my clear is pretty terrible if we're just using this skill. So how do I solve clear? Well, there is another skill that also scales from projectile damage, because Javelin is a projectile. We can also use Hammer Throw. So Hammer Throw, I've spec'd into nodes that turn it into a Nova around me, kind of like Spectral Helix in Path of Exile, but if we move, it also travels with us like Blade Vortex in Path of Exile. Sorry for all the Path of Exile references, but, you know, it's all I know, so it's great to kind of draw comparisons from. So that's basically the premise of the build. We stack these up, we throw these down on bosses, and then we dash around with Lunge whenever we see enemies. Now, being a Paladin, we also get access to Sigils of Hope, which we spec'd in to allow them to generate when we kill enemies, or I can just activate them myself, which gives me a little bit more damage and health regen. And then we've also got Holy Aura, and Holy Aura is going to be giving us basically a ton of increased physical damage, attack speed, crit chance, crit multi, and then it's also giving me a bunch of throwing attack damage and throwing attack speed through here as well. And Holy Aura is passive, but if you activate it, it basically doubles the passive effects right there, which is super nice. Now, the FPS might be doing a little bit of weird things right now because I'm recording and also, you know, playing this game here at the moment. But I'm just going to quickly show you what a little bit of a level 77 zone, I think it is. We'll do one level 77 zone here, and the character is only level 72, I think, right now. But yeah, we'll showcase the character for you. Now, what do I think about this new skill, Javelin? I played around a little bit with it in some other ways. First of all, sorry. So basically, this is the gameplay. We get the spikes coming up. We then lunge through, and our hammer throws just basically clear. And then if we see any sort of tough enemy, or if we need to pick up the scragglers, we just chuck our javelins back down. What was I saying about Javelin? Yeah, it's a really, really cool new skill. I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm loving the ability to spec into lots of different types of Javelin. I'm really enjoying the Rain of Arrows just because of the crazy boss damage I do have. And we'll try and find the boss right over here. No actual boss, but we'll see some good clear right here. So that's basically it, the gameplay of this character. And speccing fully into crit, straight fizz damage, no elements, but lots of armor shred as well. And I'll show you right after this as well the the weapon that we managed to find, the exalted weapon we managed to find, and then craft a little bit ourselves. Some pretty tasty critical strike. Some FAQs about this build if you're wanting to play this build. Obviously, Javelin is not melee, so any sort of melee physical damage is not going to work at all for the build. Any sort of melee critical strike chance, anything that says melee will not work with the build. You can see the single target damage right there, and that's the Echo Conquered. So, yeah. So say, for example, I'm using a two-handed polearm, this bronze glaive, and it has, as its kind of implicit, its base modifiers, it's got 60 melee physical damage, which does not apply whatsoever to your Javelin. But the +5 critical strike chance right there does apply because it doesn't say melee. It's the only polearm in the game that doesn't say melee something. So it's a really, really good base for Javelin. As you can see there, the exalted modifier that we did manage to get was increased critical strike chance. I do also have critical strike multiplier and chance to shred armor that I've crafted on there. It's getting pretty high. It's got 38 instability now, so if I start crafting on it a little bit more, it's going to be pretty dangerous to do so, and I might rip the weapon there. Not really much else to see. The only very important thing about this build is the throwing attack physical damage and the negative throwing attack mana cost on the rings. I'm looking for an exalted ring that has this right now, so I can make my hammer throw cost 0 mana, because tier 6 and 7 gives -4 throwing attack mana cost. And that is a little bit of a problem with the build right now, is the mana cost. If I am throwing too much, or if I'm dashing too much, then I do run out of mana pretty quickly. My idols are absolutely terrible. Everything else on the build is absolutely terrible. We're getting attacked here as well, so I better just kill this guy. But, as I said, we're only, level 72, so just trying to improve the build. I'm going to be doing so over the next few days on twitch.tv/thisisbadger if you want to come join us. But that's all I'm really going to say. Thank you so much for watching. Keep an eye out for any other Last Epoch content where I talk about Sands of Majasa itself. I talk about a couple of tips that you might want to know coming into Last Epoch, and some other kind of larger topics that I might cover on Last Epoch compared to Path of Exile at some time as well, which could be pretty fun, because there's a lot of things that Last Epoch does that Path of Exile doesn't, that I am now really missing in Path of Exile. So that's all I really have to say. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and until next time, Badger is out.